Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in, sit down, grab a cup of coffee. We're going to have a good time here today. I'm just going to chit chat. We're probably going to ramble. This is episode 1, Painting for Me. So, like I said, I'm kind of a rambler, so I apologize, but I do want to talk a bit about the process here today. I've been doing these paintings recently where they're just mostly abstract, expressive pieces that aren't really anything. Like, I don't have a preconceived notion of what they're going to be. I just go with the flow, and whatever comes out happens. Right now, I'm using a calligraphy nib that I got from my grandpa. After he passed away, I got a ton of his art supplies. So I've been trying to use them and incorporate them, and I really, really enjoy this nib because of its line variety. I can get these really nice thin lines you can see, and these really nice, big, huge, chunky lines like that one. So when I'm creating these paintings, I start off with a watercolor background, and I just try to pick a solid color. Sometimes I'll mix some colors together and do it that way, but for these, they're mostly just one solid background color. And while the water is drying, I drip waterproof ink into it, and it makes this really cool effect that you see here, where the ink kind of spreads out, and then I use a hair dryer to speed up the drying process. And sometimes this makes the edges of it, of the black blobs, like really hazy, and it makes it all like really fuzzy instead of being really clear like this one is, where I'm just letting it dry on its own. But you can get some really cool effects by doing different things, and sometimes it's out of your control. Sometimes you just let it do its thing, which I like to do the most. So I'll start off with the watercolor background, then I'll do the ink blobs, then I'll come back in with the nib. And I just play around. I'm just, there's no plan. Much like yesterday, I had no plan. I was just hanging out outside with my dog and my partner, and ended up doing some gardening, where half of our garden is like a vegetable garden, half of the other garden, or the other half of the garden is dye plants, dye flowers. So yeah, I just had a real chill day yesterday. Not much planned. Worked in the garden, did these paintings, and really enjoyed the outside. I think that's one thing that a lot of people are getting back to, is being outside and enjoying nature and enjoying the sounds and the birds chirping. These things we're kind of losing. These being outside, the getting away from the cell phone, getting away from the screens, and getting back to these handmade things. That's kind of why I created these, is I plan on them being cards to give to people. And that's my favorite thing to do, is give my friends these handmade cards, because they mean so much more to me than going to Walmart and getting a Hallmark card. There's some that's thoughtful in its own way, but I just think that this is so much better, and we need to all get back into supporting artists and doing these handmade crafts. and getting back into writing each other letters. There's nothing better than receiving a letter in the mail from your friend. That it's something very special, and I think we all need to go back to talking to our friends and sending them letters in the mail and letting them know that we love them. Because there's something really important to that, especially now. We've got to let people know that we love each other. So I like handwriting cards for my friends and letting them know that I love them and I appreciate them. And what better gift than to give somebody a piece of your heart? You know, this is truly me pouring my heart out onto a piece of paper and then giving them to somebody. Gouache time. This is my, one of my favorite mediums to work in. I've found I really love working in gouache. It's this really great medium where it's water-based. So it's just like watercolor in the sense where it's kind of like you can erase it with water. So gouache especially in this way, where if your brush is clean and wet, then you can kind of use it to pick up the paint and it will come up very easily. So I really like that gouache is kind of foolproof, and there's a lot of leeway with it, which is good for a guy like me. I'm kind of a dummy when it comes to new media. So anything that's foolproof, I'm gonna, really appreciate. But there's something special about gouache and how it's laid down on the paper. It's very buttery whenever you get it to the right consistency, and it's opaque. So whenever you lay it down, it lays down on top of whatever medium very easily. So opaque is just the opposite of transparent, right? Transparent is see-through, opaque, you can't see through it. So these are a few things why I really, really enjoy gouache. It's one of my favorite mediums. Media. But I like to stick to the same color scheme in these paintings. I don't like to jump around too much. I find that if I stick with one, set of colors, whether it be warm or cool, if I don't deviate too much in the color wheel, then it really makes the black and the white that I put in these pieces stand out that much more. And it really gives a lot of power to the color. So I really like picking these bright colors that are kind of pastel, but still have a lot of saturation in them. Which is, again, why I like using this gouache. It's very opaque, so it's got a lot of punch. It's got a lot of power to it. And here I'm coming in with this white Posca pen. And if you shake it really hard, then all of this, the paint will start coming out of the nib. So instead of breaking out a toothbrush and flinging white paint all over myself, I like doing this method. It's a little bit cleaner. So here I am just loading up the brush with the green, and I'm moving on to the green piece with the gouache. And as you noticed on the palette, I've got a ton of other colors all right next to each other. And that's because I never clean off my palette. Like I said, with the gouache, it's reactivated water. So no matter how much time has passed, even if it's dried out, even on the painting, like on the paper itself, you can always reactivate it unless you put some sort of fixer down. So I never clean off my palette. I just keep all of the color on there so I can use it again later, because you never know. But the thing about gouache is that consistency that I talked about earlier, that buttery consistency, it's really difficult to get that once it's dried. So it's really important that you get the correct amount of paint the first time and not try to, have to reactivate it, because it's never the same. It's just not. So yeah, you can kind of see there's the yellow, and I've got the red off to the side there. I just like to keep all these different things handy, and it's nice for when I do have to color match things. But I like doing these little corner pieces. Like those little bits in the corner here, it kind of acts as a little border. And I think it's a nice touch. But yeah, it was a perfect day yesterday. The sun was shining. There was a few clouds in the sky, but it was perfect. The birds were chirping. It was a beautiful spring day. I think I mentioned this before, if not, I'm mentioning it now, but the green painting is my favorite one out of all four today. I like each and every one of them, but the green is my favorite. I forgot to mention in the yellow piece, with all the pieces that I do, the gouache is really good for splattering. So if you want to splatter color, gouache is the best thing. And this is how I do it. I just take that nib holder and tap the paintbrush against it, and that flings all the paint off of my brush. And the reason why I choose the gouache is because when I'm tapping out the paint, it'll be opaque. Whereas if I were to do that with watercolor, it just wouldn't show up as well. It would just kind of be transparent and wouldn't have the same effect. But I really like this big, huge, fat, white Posca pen. It really makes me not be so precious about the lines, and it just kind of makes me let go. Which is kind of the point of these pieces, is to just let go and not be so particular, not be so controlled. This is a prime example of all these different colors being right next to each other. Yeah, my palette is just, like I said, I never clean it. So it's got every color on it you can think of. But I'm just loading up for the blue piece now. So yeah. What is new? I just finished up the semester. I took a lot of art classes. I took some writing classes. And now it's summer break. And now I am taking a break. I'm just trying to relax and chill out and enjoy some summer. Enjoy my time off. And that's another thing that sparked these paintings is having some time off, some time to actually get out here and do this. I've got a convention coming up that I'm going to, and I would really like to not only have these pieces there to show, but maybe someone will walk away with a card that they can give to a loved one. If not, maybe they're gonna buy one of these pieces and just have it for themselves. That would be great too. So part of this is painting for me, part of this is doing it for, having another product, upping my inventory. Which is weird now that I think about it, as an artist. At what point do we stop being artists and start having these capitalistic thoughts where we just need to sell and not express ourselves? But I think I can do both. I think I can express myself in the moment, have the piece, and that be the art. Just have it be in the moment and then not be attached to it after. I think that's where I'm really trying to go. Is just not be so attached to all of my work. It's a piece that I made. It's not a piece of me. If that makes any sense. I think it can be both. A piece of me and a piece that I can detach and throw away. Or not, not necessarily throw away, but I can detach myself from it. And I think that's really important and healthy. To detach yourself. You are not your art. And I'm trying to get more into that mindset. I think that's the point of those ramblings. But I like picking out these little shapes and filling them in with the gouache. I think it really kind of adds something special, where I take these big blotches of ink and try to make sense of them and try to make my own coloring book out of my own weird brain stuff. My brain stuff that comes out onto the page. I guess that's all art, is just brain stuff, isn't it? Here I go again with the Posca pen. I really do just love throwing that thing around and getting that ink out of there. You can see the other paintings are just all taped down to the same drawing board. So I just did these all in one sitting, really. Or tried to. Maybe not in one sitting. I did get up. My back did hurt after a little while. But, in one day. I did all these paintings in one day. And now we're moving on to the red. I think the red gouache is like the most beautiful to look at when you're moving it around on the palette. There's something about it. It's just like red lipstick. It's so glossy. There's something about it that's just super slick. So I used crimson for the watercolor base, and in the video it doesn't look very red. It looks really like gray and pink. But I think that just has to do with the contrast of the black next to it. But you can kind of see in this piece, really, especially how foggy and like misty that black is going into the watercolor. You can see how on the green one it was much more prominent. It was much more detailed. You could see every little strand, where on this one, it's very, I don't know how to explain it other than like there's atmospheric perspective to it. It's very foggy. It's very, I don't know. Yeah. Hazy, I guess, is another word. Clear, unclear. Moving on. Yeah, just love that red. And you can see the green on the palette. Like, you can see how close I get with all of this stuff, and yet somehow I try to keep it clean and make sense of it, even though it's all kind of a jumbled mess. And that's almost reflective of some other things in my life, is kind of a jumbled mess. Sometimes my desk gets into a jumbled mess. Sometimes life in general, the mailbox, the kitchen table gets into a jumbled mess. And every now and again, we just gotta clean it up. Except for my paint palette. That I refuse to clean. So here in this piece, I didn't really have like a spot that I liked. So I made a spot. I made this red square that just felt right in this corner. It just needed something else. Just needed this little pop of color. I think that should probably be my nickname, Pop of Color. I'm gonna start it now. Even though, it's taboo to start your own nickname, I think that's what I'm gonna do. You can kind of see on this piece the downside of having all 4 paintings on the same drawing board is sometimes that splatter goes everywhere. It gets on my phone, gets on my clothes, gets on other pieces. So it's kind of a nightmare, but also it's fun, so you got to be careful. I really love making these lines with a brush. I think the brush is one of my favorite tools. So, I've said I've had a lot of favorite tools in this video. So if anyone's keeping track, it's that calligraphy nib, the gouache, or I guess that's not a tool, it's more of a medium. So the calligraphy nib, the brush, and the Posca pen are some of my favorite things. I really love using pencil too, but I think that I would like to start incorporating colored pencil into these pieces somehow. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but maybe some scribbling here and there. That's for another day. That might be for episode 2. So hold me accountable on that. And I think, yeah. We're getting near the end. Here we go, the tape reveal. This is always my favorite part. I love peeling off the tape to reveal a clean edge, even if sometimes it's not so clean. I like this blue painter tape, but it doesn't always do the best job. Which is fine. I think that kind of adds to the piece. It adds humanity to it, We're not all perfect. Not everything is going to have that perfect edge. But there really is something so satisfying about peeling that tape off and just revealing that clean. Oh yeah, that's what you want. So, I just wanted to thank everybody again for hanging out with me today. It was a beautiful day. I had a good time painting these pieces. It felt nice and cathartic to get all this stuff out, let loose on some emotion, do some painting again. It had been a little while since I'd done one of these. And to do 4 in a row was, it was kind of ideal. Kind of got a lot of the colors out of the way. I was able to do a bunch in a row. So it was really nice. I really enjoyed it. I'm not sure when episode 2 is going to come out or when I'm going to do this again, but I appreciate everyone hanging out with me today. You can find more of my work at cleverkaiju.com, and you can read all my comics there. If you'd like to support me further, then you can head on over to joshmetterart.com. All the links will be in the description. So thank you so much again. I really appreciate everyone who took the time out today to hang out with me. Thanks.